Why do we love the Dreamcast?
I would say that I love the Dreamcast because it has an amazing array of games. Like you have to talk about the games first, right? There was a lot of firsts for the Dreamcast. So we're going to hop into some different aspects briefly, at least. This was the first console that was truly online. I remember people explaining it to me, but I'm not understanding. Like you play against other people that are in their houses, and this was the era of 56K modems. Nobody had amazing internet. Like this was like, cool. You want to see a picture? I hope you got about 25 minutes. That's how long it's going to take to download that 2 megabyte picture onto your computer. Like it's going to take forever, let alone playing games against other people. So that's not something that I experienced. But what I did experience with the Dreamcast was the games. I mean, when I think of the Dreamcast, the first thing that pops into my head is the games. It's Soul Calibur, it's Sonic. Crazy Taxi was like one of the most unique games on the console. I loved Crazy Taxi so much.
Crazy Taxi was great. But the Dreamcast had so many unique experiences with their games. You know, I remember playing Shenmue for the first time. And you know, it gets no love from a lot of people because they felt it was too, as Big Greg would call it, you know, it's like the marionette game because you're just controlling this guy's life. But it had the fighting mechanics of Virtual Fighter, and you lived this guy's life. He got a job. It had internal clock, so you had day when you wake up, and you had to be in the house by a certain time. There was tasks that you had to do.
There was very few games like this at the time. Like I know this seems very like basic now, but at the time it was like there was very few things like it.
Nothing. It was nothing like it. It was great. It was great. And then we had Seaman. Remember Seaman?
What a man.
The experience with Seaman.
I didn't have this game. I've seen plenty of videos on it. I saw it in the store, and like I remember like all I could think about was, why would anyone buy this game? Like it was like clearly the guy who made it was like high as hell or tripping on something. Like he was out of his mind. It's such a bizarre game. So if you guys don't know, it has just to describe it for our audio listeners, it's a fish or different types of fish that have like human faces.
Correct.
And you like create other fish that also have human faces.
You talk to it. It had a mic that came with it, and you would talk to him and have conversation with him, and he would eventually evolve, you know, and he would get smarter, and you can get other seamen in there with him, and it's just, but we've never seen anything like that before. Interacting, totally bizarre, totally strange, but it was an experience we've never seen before.
The Dreamcast had a bunch of those, you know. It's light gun games that we talked about earlier were very good, but the light gun has been around, you know, I think since like the Master System had like, you know, a light gun. So we're talking about like back in the day. Another item that came out of that time I thought was pretty unique. There may have been one on PS1, but this is really iconic, was like Sega Bass Fishing came with a fishing controller. Mm-hmm. And that thing was all over the place. Everybody had these fishing controllers.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, the motion sensor fishing controller, you would cast it and it would react. It was great.
Reel it in.
It gave you some resistance, you know, with the vibration. And you mentioned earlier with the VMUs. The VMUs were so original. They had the little screens on them, you know, and like with Sonic and the little Chows, you know, the little Tamagotchi games. But it had so much more uses. Like when you played the football, it displayed your play on the little screen.
Wes, look, football games have never been the same. They have never been the same. If you're when you play online, it's fine. You guys don't understand. When you're online, it's totally fine. It doesn't matter. Nobody can see your plays. When you had to play in the same room as somebody, you can guess, or you can actually visibly see what play they're picking. The VMU changed all that, man. You could pick your play on the VMU. So the person you're playing against had no idea what play you picked, so you couldn't, you know, defend it appropriately. That's how you should be playing football games. And I wish we had something that was like that today. Like maybe you could do that on the Switch, but it's not like football games even come out on the Switch, other than like I think they made a Mutant Football League for the Switch, but
Yeah.
I don't know.
You know, and for people who have never seen a VMU, it was a memory card, and that's what you used to save. But it had so many other functions because it had a little
LCD
directional
screen.
pad. It had a little directional pad on it. It had 2 buttons. So there were a lot of little mini games that you could play on your VMU, and then you can hook 2 of them together and kind of go head to head on some of the games or exchange information from one memory card to the next.
Yep.
So if you had a character for a particular game that I wanted, we can hook our VMUs together and send each other like files. It was so revolutionary because we
It
have,
was
again,
far ahead of its time.
way ahead of its time. And again, it's something that we have never seen up to that point in gaming.